want you guys to listen to this. This was yesterday on the Bill O'Reilly show, and he does a little segment called Talking Points at the beginning of every show. They finally started talking about who our coalition is over in to do this anti-ISIS thing. I thought this was a really good way of stating it, and he does a way better job than I do. So I'm just going to put this to this video here where I'm out riding, because I didn't talk about anything. I was just out riding like I normally do. Hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. Fighting to win against ISIS. That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. The Wall Street Journal NBC News poll says just 28% of Americans are confident President Obama will be able to defeat the ISIS terror threat. 28%. 68% have their doubts. The reason Americans are tentative about their commander-in-chief is that he has not been assertive in using U.S. power, and indeed seems to be somewhat ashamed of it. But now, with weekly beheadings by ISIS, the reluctant warrior must wage war, but not total war, tepid war.
We're not looking to put troops on the ground. There are troops on the ground that don't belong to us. They're called Syrian. The Syrian opposition is on the ground. And one of the regrettable things is it has been fighting ISIL by itself over the course of the last couple of years.
And why has it been fighting ISIS, ISIL, whatever you want to call it, by itself, Mr. Kerry? Why? Well, because your boss would not help them out, overruling most of his foreign policy advisors, including Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Talking Points wonders whether John Kerry understands he just put his boss in a bad place. Anyway, even the national media now understands the president's war plan is folly.
There's not a single military advisor that has come to you guys and said you could defeat ISIS without some combat troops, ISIS in Syria without some combat.
That's correct, and
right? I mean, so that's a fact.
That's a fact, and that's the president's view, and that's why what we need Congress to do right now, and frankly, we're seeing very good progress on this, thanks to the Speaker and to others, is to put together support for what the president calls a Title X program to train and equip the Syrian opposition on the ground fighting ISIL.
And that's from NBC.
But here's the truth. The Syrian opposition is not going to defeat ISIS or Assad or anyone else. They're far too weak and disorganized to be an effective fighting force, no matter what we do. Again, everybody in the international arena knows that. So why are we playing this game? Why? The answer to that question is complicated and rooted in fear. President Obama does not want a wide war on terrorism that consumes his entire administration. He wants small ball, isolated attacks on the evildoers. But with the dramatic rise of the ISIS Nazis, that strategy is not enough.
Look, people don't question
CNN.
American power. What people need to be convinced of is American will.
And so what do you think should be done? It sounds to me like you're saying we should be sending U.S. ground troops.
I don't think we should have arbitrarily limits on how we use the forces we send there. Look, no one is picturing U.S. brigade combat teams maneuvering in the western Iraqi desert. But we do need to have a presence on the ground.
Of course, that's what we need. But again, President Obama doesn't want to put Americans in harm's way. It goes against his liberal belief system. So he wants to form a big anti-terror coalition, team up with countries all over the world to get ISIS and other Islamic terror organizations. Only Mr. Obama does not like to use the word Islamic. Okay, so let's take a look at the proposed coalition. Australia, as usual, has stepped up with troops and planes. What a great ally that country is. Great Britain talks a great game, but even though ISIS beheaded a British subject over the weekend, Prime Minister Cameron isn't really committing much to the fight. Maybe that'll change. France, if you can believe it, is doing more than Britain, saying it will take part in bombing raids against ISIS. France has also defeated Islamic terror threats in Africa. So way to go, Paris. Germany, as usual, not doing much. They sit back and let the USA and others do the hard work of protecting innocent people. Germany is a very selfish country. Italy says it'll help out a bit, all they can do. Canada, not really committed. They might help out a little, maybe. In the Muslim world, Turkey once again turns against their NATO allies. That country could cripple ISIS because supplies to the terror group flow through Turkey. Also, Turkish air bases are very close. They border Syria. But the Turks fear the jihadists because so many of those nuts are living in that country. Behind the scenes, Turkey might help out, but quietly. Egypt will help a little for all the money we send their military. Saudi Arabia says the Syrians can train on its soil. Jordan, Lebanon, other small Muslim countries will do a little. Qatar remains quite the problem. Terror funding going through that little place. It says it's a friend to America, but the money says differently. President Obama should crack down on Qatar fast. So you can see that any big coalition movement is a pipe dream. We are living in a cowardly world, and that's why ISIS, Al-Qaeda, other Islamic killers get away with what they do. The sad truth is, and has been, that only the United States can lead a fight against evil. Russia, China, they have power, but neither nation is interested in righting wrongs or protecting innocent people. They want more power, money, and a tight hold over their own citizens. ISIS, they couldn't care less. If President Obama really wants to protect Americans and defeat ISIS, if he really wants to do it, he himself must become a much stronger presence. He's wishy-washy up there. Patton and U.S. Grant are rolling over. He's dispassionate, much too nuanced, not fully engaged. Few nations will follow a leader who tells the enemy what he won't do, and whose record of retreat dominates his resume. We need a presidential commitment to kill terrorists wherever they may be. To do that, President Obama and Congress should pass a declaration of war against Islamic terrorists. We have to have an official document that says, here we come. But we don't invade. We don't nation build or arm corrupt, ineffective fighting forces. We fight smart, taking help from the nations that are willing to give it and bringing the fight to the enemy in a variety of ways. Few American politicians would oppose a declaration of war for fear of their own careers. So let's get rolling. Or do we need a few more beheadings?